30 years ago. Tonight, I'm still scared, but I'm not alone. And I will share this eventful evening with the three men in my life.
Sophia Loren was never just a movie star. She was one of the last faces capable of silencing an entire room with a single glance, and only moments later, breaking hearts with the sorrow of a character trapped in war, exile, and prejudice. From Caesarea in Two Women to the ordinary yet unyielding women of Naples, Loren shattered the mold of beauty is enough to become an icon of strength and dignity on the silver screen. Her radiance did not come from flawless features. It came from the nose she refused to alter, from the almond-shaped eyes that told a lifetime of storms, from the decision to love on her own terms, even when it cost her years in exile. Her presence once made award ceremonies both solemn and warm, while her resolve paved the way for the next generation of actresses to believe that talent and individuality could stand equal to every imposed standard. For more than 7 decades, Sophia Loren held her ground between brilliance and shadow, turning both beauty and pain into unforgettable art. But at 90, life's storm has returned in another form, a devastating fall, the harsh marks of age, and the emptiness that has lingered since Carlo Ponti's passing. Let us return to that dazzling yet turbulent journey to see why the tragedy and the beauty of Sophia Loren still leaves the world breathless today. Sophia Loren was born on September 20th, 1934, not in the warmth of a family home, but in a charity ward for unwed mothers in Rome. She carried a long and heavy name, Sofia Costanza Brigida Villani Ciccolone. The Ciccolone surname, tied to her father Riccardo Ciccolone's aristocratic lineage, was nothing more than a mark of abandonment. Riccardo, a civil engineer, refused to marry her mother, Romilda Villani, and would not even give his name to Sophia's younger sister, Maria. In a deeply Catholic Italy, being an unwed mother was not only a scandal, but almost a sin. Romilda, once so strikingly similar to Greta Garbo that strangers stopped her on the street for autographs, returned to Pozzuoli in shame, raising 2 fatherless children on her own. Pozzuoli, a small fishing and munitions town near Naples, became Sophia's childhood home. Her grandparents' apartment was perpetually overcrowded. 8 people crammed into a crumbling flat, so crowded that Sophia never once slept in a bed without sharing it with 3 others. When World War II broke out, poverty turned into despair. By 1942, they were close to starvation, surviving only on meager rations of bread. At night, the family fled to dark railway tunnels to escape the bombs. In Sophia's memory, those shelters were filled with rats, disease, crying, laughter, death, and even unexpected births. One day, shrapnel tore into her chin, leaving a scar that would remain forever, a mark of a childhood never forgotten. Hunger left Sophia so frail that classmates called her Sophia Stuzzicadenti, toothpick. Along with the shame of being an illegitimate child, she grew up under the pity and scorn of neighbors. Her father was absent and her mother worked tirelessly, teaching piano, sewing, cleaning, to feed the family. Yet it was Romilda who lit the flame of ambition in her daughter. At 17, Romilda had once won a look-alike contest for Greta Garbo, with a prize of a screen test at MGM in America. But her family forbade her, convinced that going to the US meant ruin, and her dream died unfinished. Because of this, Romilda poured every hope into Sophia. She said openly, "Everything I dreamed for myself happened to Sophia. I lived through her. The first turning point came when Sophia was just 14. It was the beauty contest, Queen of the Sea and the 12 Princesses. They had no gown for the girl to wear. Her grandmother pulled down a pink curtain from the living room like Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind and stitched it into an evening dress. Sophia's old shoes were painted white to appear a bit more elegant. Walking into the hall filled with over 200 girls in real gowns, jewelry, and flowers, Sophia felt small and out of place. But when her turn came, she carried herself with calm dignity. The result: Sophia was chosen as one of the 12 princesses, winning $35, a ticket to Rome, and several rolls of wallpaper that the family joyfully used to cover the bomb-cracked walls. From that moment, Romilda dedicated herself entirely to her daughter's career. And for Sophia, it was the first door out of a scarred childhood. Yet the shadows of poverty, war, stigma, and the shame of bearing her father's name without his presence would follow her for the rest of her life. Sophia Loren's path to cinema began unexpectedly at the Miss Italy pageant in 1950. She did not win the crown, but she received a newly created title that year, Miss Elegance. Few knew that this award was invented by producer Carlo Ponti specifically for her. To his eyes, the young woman from Pozzuoli did not fit the beauty queen mold, yet she carried an elusive magnetism, a singular charm. What seemed like a modest recognition turned into the key that unlocked her career. Soon after, Loren began landing background roles in low-budget comedies. In 1951, at just 16, she appeared in Quo Vadis. It was only a fleeting glimpse, but the experience ignited in Sophia the belief that cinema was her destiny. 2 years later, at 18, she featured in Africa Under the Seas, a minor project, yet one that reinforced her presence as a fresh face in Italian film. On one occasion, a director reviewing crowd scenes stopped and asked, "Who is that girl?" Those eyes are far too extraordinary to remain in the background. That moment marked the beginning of Sophia's recognition. At first, she used her birth name, Ciccolone, long and unwieldy. Filmmakers suggested Sophia Lazzaro, implying she was so beautiful she could raise Lazarus from the dead. But the final choice became Sophia Loren, inspired by Swedish actress Marta Thorin. Short, elegant, and memorable, it was her passport into the world of cinema. In 1953, her real break arrived when she was cast as the lead in Aida. The role was initially intended for Gina Lollobrigida, who declined because she refused to lip-sync opera vocals. With Ponti's recommendation, Sophia stepped in. Though she wore heavy makeup and mimed to the voice of diva Renata Tebaldi, Loren still astonished audiences. Her blazing eyes and commanding presence silenced all doubts. Later, Loren remarked, "I didn't need my voice. I had eyes that could tell the story." The following year, Vittorio De Sica's L'Oro di Napoli, 1954, made Sophia a true star. As a simple young wife, she could make audiences laugh and ache in the same breath. De Sica would later exclaim, "Sophia doesn't act. She lives in every scene." His words were prophetic, shaping the brilliance of her future career. Within just a few years, Loren had crossed into Hollywood. From The Pride and the Passion, 1957, to Houseboat, 1958, to It Started in Naples, 1960, Sophia became an international face. The 1960s marked the pinnacle of Sophia Loren's career, a height few actresses in history could rival. With more than 100 films across her lifetime, she became a global icon, not only for her radiant beauty but for her talent, proven by achievements that spoke louder than appearances. Her artistic peak arrived in 1961 with Two Women. As Caesira, a resilient Italian mother amid war, Loren stunned the world. She became the first actor ever to win the Academy Award for Best Actress in a role performed entirely in Italian. Alongside the Oscar, the performance earned her 5 major awards, including Cannes and BAFTA. When her name was called at the Oscars, Sophia burst into tears, unable to speak while the entire room rose in applause. Kirk Douglas later recalled, "It was one of the most moving moments I have ever witnessed at the Oscars." Her commercial peak came soon after. In 1964, she signed on for the fall of the Roman Empire with a salary of $1 million, then a record, making her the highest-paid actress in the world. Although the film failed at the box office, that fee confirmed Loren's status as a true global A-list star. Beyond the screen, Loren created unforgettable behind-the-scenes moments. In 1957, at a Hollywood party, she was seated next to Jane Mansfield, known for her bold décolletage. When Mansfield leaned provocatively for the cameras, Loren cast a sidelong glance, equal parts uneasy and unimpressed. The photo became one of the most iconic images in Hollywood history. More than 50 years later, Loren laughed as she remembered, "I wasn't jealous. I was just afraid her breasts would spill right out of her dress in front of me." Behind the glamour, Loren also faced pressure to conform to Hollywood ideals. Many urged her to have her nose reduced to improve her chances, but she stood firm. "If I must fix my nose to make films, I'd rather return to Pozzuoli." That resolve set her apart, a beauty not flawless, but singular and unforgettable. Over her career, Sophia Loren earned 2 Oscars, one for Two Women, another the honorary award in 1991, 5 Golden Globes, a BAFTA, and dozens of international honors. She appeared in classics like Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow, 1963, Marriage Italian Style, 1964, A Special Day, 1977, and even 2009, when she was 75. Those accolades, combined with the timeless off-screen moments, placed Sophia Loren beyond every standard. She was not just Italy's star. She became a legend of world cinema, proving that true success comes from courage, not beauty alone. While the world saw Sophia Loren as a queen on screen, few knew that behind the spotlight was a woman who sacrificed everything just to live for love. And that love, with Carlo Ponti, became both the most tragic and the most beautiful chapter of her life. Sophia Loren's romance with her late husband Carlo Ponti remains one of the most dramatic love stories in cinema history. It began when she was still a teenager, and it was marked by accusations of bigamy, 2 weddings, years of exile, and a sorrow that was never fully healed. At just 16, still using the stage name Sophia Lazzaro, she met Carlo Ponti, already a renowned producer more than 20 years her senior, at a beauty contest in Rome in 1950. In her memoir and later interviews, Loren admitted it was love at first sight. "We both fell in love from the very first glance. We met at a beauty contest. At first, we were just friends, but by the time I was 19, we were truly in love." Carlo Ponti, however, was married to Giuliana Fiastri and had 2 children. In deeply Catholic Italy, where divorce was forbidden, their relationship was condemned as sinful. In her memoir, Yesterday, Today, Tomorrow, Sophia wrote, "In his presence, I felt protected by a father figure, something I had never really had. Love, admiration, and the emptiness of her childhood bound her to Carlo in a way she could not break free from. Yet just as their love deepened, another complication arose: Cary Grant. During the filming of The Pride and the Passion, 1957, the 52-year-old actor, 3 times divorced, fell deeply for Loren. He dined with her every night, confided the loneliness and pain of his own childhood, and wrote her letters urging her to cherish the most important years of your life. He gave her 2 small gold bracelets as talismans and began speaking of marriage. On Houseboat, 1958, their chemistry was so palpable that audiences believed they were destined for each other. But for Loren, admiration could not sever the bond with Ponti. She later confessed, "Cary loved me and wanted me to marry him, but that meant leaving Carlo and causing a huge scandal. I could not do it." On one side stood an international star who could offer her an easy life, embraced by Hollywood. On the other stood an Italian man, more than 20 years older, married, condemned by both the Vatican and public opinion. Sophia chose Carlo, and that choice became her tragedy. She turned down the smoother path to remain with a love branded from the start as forbidden. Loren called it returning to my world. But that world was no paradise. It was years of exile, an illegal marriage, accusations of bigamy, and a wound to her spirit that never truly healed. Ironically, it was Cary Grant who first congratulated her after her proxy wedding in Mexico, kissing both her cheeks as a final farewell. And bitterly, the wedding scene in Houseboat, a fiction on screen, turned out to be the only perfect wedding Sophia Loren ever had. In real life, her marriage to Ponti took nearly a decade of battles with the Vatican and Italian law before it was finally recognized. In 1957, after arranging a divorce in Mexico, Carlo and Sophia wed by proxy. But happiness was short-lived. Within 5 years, they were forced to annul the union because Italian law did not acknowledge Ponti's divorce. The Italian press labeled Loren an open adulteress, while the Vatican threatened to excommunicate Carlo Ponti. The media branded them as bigamists, Sophia as the sinful mistress, and the couple was forced into years of exile in Paris and Geneva. Loren herself admitted that the greatest pain was not the accusations, but the feeling of being without a homeland, unable to return to the Italy where she had been born. It was not until 1965, after acquiring French citizenship and finalizing Carlo Ponti's divorce from Giuliana Fiastri, that they were able to remarry legally. Yet this event provoked outrage in Italy, where many saw them as traitors to the homeland. Conservative groups blocked several of Loren's domestic film projects, forcing her to push her career more strongly in Hollywood, where she could escape the grip of the Vatican and Italian public opinion. Even so, deep inside, Sophia carried a lingering regret. She admitted candidly to Radio Times, "The only thing I slightly regret is never marrying in a white wedding dress. That was the dream of my life, a dream that still lives in me." And until the very end, when she celebrated 50 years with Carlo Ponti just before his passing in 2007, Sophia still called that love the only faith I have never betrayed. After years of turmoil, Sophia and Carlo eventually built a happy family. Loren endured the pain of 2 miscarriages and risky hormone treatments, but at 34, she gave birth to her first son, Carlo Jr., 1968, followed by Eduardo, 1973. These were gifts after years of despair and tears, joys that bound the couple even closer as both sons went on to follow artistic paths. Carlo Jr. became a renowned conductor in the United States, leading prestigious orchestras and earning critical acclaim for his work. Eduardo became a writer and director, creating films celebrated by critics. In fact, Eduardo and his mother collaborated as early as 2001 with the feature film Between Strangers. Later, with the short La Voce Umana, 2014, and most recently with The Life Ahead, 2020. These collaborations stand as proof of their close bond and mutual respect. Carlo Ponti was not only a husband, but also a mentor, a father figure, and the producer who lifted Sophia from the slums to become Italy's national treasure. Yet the tragedy of that love was the price paid in isolation, prejudice, and years of exile from her homeland. By the laws of society, theirs was once branded as forbidden. But by the laws of love, it remains one of the greatest testaments to loyalty and courage. Sophia Loren lived half a century with a single love, a love bought with scandal, tears, and exile, but also a love that made her a legend, not only on screen, but in the hearts of millions around the world. Sophia Loren chose to bear the label of sinful mistress to stand beside Carlo Ponti. Do you see that as admirable courage or as an unforgivable moral mistake? And if faced with the same choice as Sophia Loren, a love condemned by society or an easier path to fame, which would you choose? Just when it seemed Sophia Loren had the world in her hands, a brilliant career, a fulfilling marriage, fame beyond borders, the storm struck again. This time she was no longer playing a role on screen, but became the central figure in a real-life drama where law, media, and Hollywood scandals exposed the harshest shadows. In the late 1970s, Sophia was suddenly dragged into a tax dispute that seemed endless. A missed filing from 1963 turned into a staggering debt of $180,000, a crushing figure at the time. The scandal shook Italy, and Loren, the national icon, became the target of public criticism. Even worse, her financial advisor died before resolving the issue, leaving Sophia to shoulder the burden alone. The crisis peaked in 1982. Sophia Loren was officially sentenced and sent to prison. For 17 days, the star who once walked red carpets now lived behind bars, reading philosophy and novels to keep herself from collapsing. At first, fellow inmates were wary, but soon they expressed admiration. Who would have thought a movie star could be so humble? Loren shared her meals, listened to their stories, and in that way survived the crushing loneliness. Outside the prison gates, thousands of fans rallied. They carried banners reading, "Forgive Sophia," lit candles, and chanted her name for days. The prison became the epicenter of a social movement, an unprecedented display of devotion to a movie star. When she finally walked free, Loren did not just regain liberty. She emerged as a warrior, proof of resilience and the public's undying admiration. She vowed to herself, "From now on, I will never sign a single paper without reading it word for word." But the troubles did not end there. Carlo Ponti, her husband and soulmate, was swept into an international legal scandal. In the early 1980s, he and his associates were accused of defrauding 4,758 film investors with falsified documents. The case shook the industry and provoked public fury, demanding tighter financial regulations. Though Ponti received only a light sentence, the taint of scandal cast a long shadow over their family, forcing them to withstand public suspicion. The Italian government then seized their vast art collection, Masterpieces by Botticelli, Renoir, Picasso, valued at more than $6.7 million. Authorities claimed the works had left Italy without proper permits. After years of legal battles, Loren and Ponti finally regained their treasures. But the ordeal carved a deeper truth into their lives. Their happiness and fame were never given freely, always paid for with blood, tears, and unyielding resolve. Sophia's wounds were not confined to courtrooms. Hollywood, the world that once adored her, left scars too. During one collaboration, Marlon Brando, known for brilliance but also arrogance, openly mocked her, calling her bad-breathed, and repeatedly harassed her during intimate scenes. Loren later recalled, "I was so disgusted I wanted to walk off set." Yet she did not. For many actresses, that would have meant surrender. Loren held her ground, refusing to let Brando cross the line. The difference was clear. Men were often excused, while women were silenced. Sophia chose to endure, confronting days on set that felt like hell, and it was that very strength that made her a symbol of defiance in a Hollywood full of traps. Even as age crept in, she continued to defend her dignity. In September 1999, Loren discovered her image had been stolen by 79 websites, her face pasted onto other bodies to attract attention. For a star who had given her life to art, this was a brutal insult. She fought back in court and won. Once again, she proved that honor and self-respect are never up for compromise. Such controversies and falls could have broken anyone. But for Sophia Loren, they became the forge of her steel spirit. From Italian prisons to Hollywood sets, from cold confiscations to online slander, Loren never retreated. Her life became a series of confrontations with adversity, and each time she rose again, shining brighter. Not just as a movie legend, but as a woman who dared to face and endure every storm. After all of life's troubles, Sophia Loren still emerged with a grace that left the world astonished. She was not only a woman who survived the storms, but one who preserved a beauty, elegance, and vitality seemingly untouched by time. The mystery that fascinated millions was this: how did Sophia Loren maintain such everlasting allure? The answer lay in her diet, beauty secrets, and a lifestyle she faithfully embraced throughout her life. Sophia Loren, the global symbol of beauty and elegance, was renowned not only for her acting talent, but also for her timeless approach to health and self-care. She was more than a glamorous figure on screen. She became a model of healthy living, radiant energy, and confidence. Her diet was firmly rooted in the traditional Mediterranean way of eating, a cornerstone of her longevity and beauty. Loren's meals centered around olive oil, fish, vegetables, and other nutrient-rich foods. Olive oil, in particular, was not just an essential ingredient in her cooking, but also a vital part of her skincare routine. She believed it kept her figure trim while leaving her skin smooth and luminous. Yet what surprised many was her unabashed love for pasta. In one interview, she proudly declared, "Everything you see, I owe to spaghetti." For Loren, pasta was not merely food, but a daily joy, an inseparable part of her life. To balance pleasure and health, she favored simple tomato-based sauces over heavy cream, preserving her figure without giving up her favorite dishes. Beyond her diet, Loren expanded her influence into fashion and beauty. She launched her own perfume line and eyewear collection, products that reflected her style and signature elegance. These ventures not only cemented her status in the beauty industry, but also allowed her to share her secrets with women worldwide. Sophia Loren became celebrated for her natural beauty and distinctive makeup style. Despite criticism of her looks early in her career, she steadfastly refused cosmetic surgery, insisting on keeping her features intact. Loren believed true beauty came from confidence and inner strength, and she embodied that belief in every choice she made. One of her signature beauty techniques was her meticulous eyebrow shaping and dramatic cat eye makeup. In the 1950s and 1960s, she became famous for shaving off her natural brows and redrawing them hair by hair with pencil, giving her complete control over their shape and arch. Combined with her alluring cat-eye eyeliner, these choices emphasized her almond-shaped eyes and created an unmistakable Sophia Loren trademark. She also cared for her skin with diligence. Olive oil was her go-to moisturizer, and she often used crushed mint leaves to reduce dark circles under her eyes, a simple yet effective remedy she kept for years. But more than beauty rituals, it was Sophia Loren's positive outlook that defined her. She held fast to optimism, believing that beauty begins with how we perceive ourselves and the world around us. This philosophy kept her youthful and vibrant, defying age with a spirit that was as captivating as her appearance. While most Hollywood starlets went to great lengths to obey the rigid standards of so-called perfect beauty, Sophia Loren chose a different path. She never underwent plastic surgery, never subjected herself to extreme diets, and even refused to shave her underarms, a small act that was enough to spark controversy. For Loren, it was not defiance for its own sake. It was a declaration. She believed beauty does not come from pleasing someone else's gaze, but from confidence in how we face ourselves. In a Hollywood that constantly imposed molds on women, Loren chose authenticity. Her underarm hair was once deemed unacceptable, yet that very choice set her apart, a star who never surrendered her identity to scrutiny. For decades, Loren preserved her natural features. The sharp almond eyes, the nose many urged her to alter, and even the smallest details others might hide. To her, these were proof of resilience, the courage to stand against oppressive standards, and the courage to let her body tell its own story. That decision made Loren not only an emblem of personal freedom, but also an inspiration to millions of women. She reminded the world that beauty does not need to be perfect. It needs to be real. And what about you? Do you see this as a bold statement of courage against social norms or simply indifference to Hollywood's harsh beauty rules? Be honest. Would you accept a woman whose natural beauty included not shaving her underarms? Looking back on more than 7 decades, Sophia Loren is remembered not merely as Italy's most beautiful star. She carved her own path, a journey proving that beauty alone was never enough to secure lasting greatness in cinema. To Italian directors, Loren brought something rare, the ability to turn ordinary characters into symbols. From the poor girl of Naples in L'Oro di Napoli, 1954, to the desperate mother in Two Women, 1960, Loren never acted. She lived the role. Vittorio De Sica once said, "Sophia doesn't act. She breathes with her characters." Thanks to Two Women, Loren became the first Italian actress to win an Oscar and one of the very few to win an Oscar, a BAFTA, a Golden Globe, and Cannes recognition, all for a single role. But her legacy was never confined to golden statues. Sophia Loren stood as proof that a woman could defy every social expectation, from openly embracing a forbidden love with Carlo Ponti to refusing to alter her features just to please Hollywood. In one interview, she declared, "If you love me, you must love this nose too. If not, "I'll go back to Pozzuoli." A line that seemed spontaneous became a manifesto of confidence and individuality, inspiring generations of women. Her legacy also lived in intimate memories. Her son, Edoardo Ponti, once shared, "My mother always taught us that beauty fades, but character does not. She showed us that courage matters more than glamour." In Hollywood, where many stars burned out quickly, Loren retained respect through integrity. No flamboyant affairs, no compromises with what she believed was wrong. Sophia Loren was also among the rare Italians to carry the soul of Naples to the world. She kept her warm, distinctive accent, never hiding her humble roots, and even elevated pasta, the pride of Italian cuisine, into part of her identity. Asked about her secret to staying in shape, she only smiled. "It's all thanks to spaghetti." The remark made audiences laugh, yet it was Loren's way of turning the ordinary into legend. It is no surprise that Time named Sophia Loren one of the 25 most influential women of the 20th century. For her legacy was not only immortal films, but also the image of a woman who dared to live truthfully, love fearlessly, and preserve her identity in a world determined to impose its standards. Today, when people recall Sophia Loren, they do not only see a cinematic monument, they remember a woman of resolve who faced every storm. Her legacy is not measured by the number of honors she received, but by the fact that audiences still recall her roles, her words, and her unrepeatable spirit. That is the distinctive mark that time can never erase. On January 10, 2007, Sophia Loren lost Carlo Ponti, the husband, mentor, and soulmate with whom she had shared more than half a century. He passed away in Geneva from complications of lung disease after years of painful struggle. Sophia remained by his side until the very last moment, caring for him with all her love and patience. "I lost a part of myself," she confessed. Since then, she has never remarried, for in Loren's heart, no one could ever replace Carlo. After that loss, Sophia chose a quiet life in Geneva, far from the spotlight. Yet she never disappeared. From time to time, audiences still saw her re-emerge in special projects, most notably The Life Ahead, 2020, directed by her son Edoardo Ponti, where Loren portrayed a Jewish woman who survived the Holocaust. The role reminded the world that the fire in her eyes had never gone out, but age spares no icon. In 2023, at 89, Sophia Loren suffered a fall at her Swiss home, breaking her femur and hip. She was rushed into emergency surgery, forcing her to postpone appearances such as the opening of her namesake restaurant and her honorary citizenship ceremony in Bari. News of her accident alarmed fans worldwide, but only months later Loren reappeared, smiling, proof that the steel spirit that had carried her through war and life's storms still endured. Beyond her own recovery, Loren continued to uphold her sense of social responsibility. In 2024, she joined fundraising campaigns, supporting children and the elderly, and appeared at events celebrating her cinematic legacy. Even at 90, Loren still signed autographs and replied to fan letters, an invisible thread connecting her to those who had loved her from the very beginning. In 2025, Sophia Loren was honored once again, not with another trophy, but with tributes across generations. In London, the British Film Institute, BFI Southbank, hosted Sophia Loren Hollywood-style, Neapolitan Spirit, screening classics like Two Women and Marriage Italian Style. Vogue unveiled a collection of vintage photographs, portraying Loren as a timeless summer muse. On the Oscars 2025 red carpet, Selena Gomez wore a gown directly inspired by Loren's style, sparkling with 16,000 crystals. A testament that Loren's allure still shapes Hollywood aesthetics today. And in an article for The Times, Eduardo Ponti wrote of his mother not as a star, but as a resilient woman, humble and unwavering, who always valued inner worth above praise. Sophia Loren at 90 is no longer the loud presence on red carpets, but she remains a living icon. She exists in cinema's memory, in her family's stories, in public tributes, and in the way a younger generation still looks to her style to affirm their own. For Loren, old age is not oblivion. It is a new chapter through which the world continues to remember a legend. Sophia Loren was never just a movie star. She is living proof of the strength of a heart that never bows. From a childhood of poverty, through the brutality of war, a forbidden love, legal scandals, and irreparable loss, every trial forged a Sophia Loren both fragile and unyielding. By choosing to live truthfully, to love fully, and to hold her dignity, she became a timeless symbol. Looking at Loren today, at 90, we see not only a star who once stood at the summit of glory, but also a woman who still holds her head high against time. Her story makes us wonder, in our own lives, do we have the courage to keep our identity intact, to stand firm in the storm, as Sophia once did? If you too feel strength from her journey, share your thoughts below. Which part of Sophia Loren's life moves you most? Her love, her resilience, or her defiance in the face of prejudice? And don't forget, the journey of discovering extraordinary lives continues. In the next video, we'll bring you another story, just as turbulent, just as inspiring, so that with each telling, you'll find a piece of strength for yourself. If you enjoy these stories, please hit like and subscribe. It is not only support for us, but also a promise that you won't miss a single moving journey. Sophia Loren, from a child mocked as illegitimate to an icon the world lifts its head to admire, will forever remind us, no storm is strong enough to extinguish the light of a resilient soul. And now, tell us, which figure do you think deserves to be told next? Share in the comments. We're always listening, ready to continue these emotional journeys with you.